Hello and thank you for viewing this presentation. This is an instructional design case analysis presented by Chris Brooks. The case being analyzed and presented is Designing and Developing an Online Self-Regulated Learning Course. This case was written by Mariah Kralnix, Norman W. Evans, Grant Eckstein, and Benjamin L. McMurray of Brigham Young University. The mission of the BYU English Language Center is to build global leaders in English language, teaching, and research. Partnered closely with the university's TESOL, or Teachers of English to Speakers of Other Languages, degree program, the center is responsible for preparing students for the test of English as a foreign language and beginning their collegiate careers. Self-regulated learning has long been recognized as a vital skill for all language learners to have at the center. In 2016, the BYU ELC was providing instruction in 64 classes at varying levels of competency. The center had previously implemented a paper-based SRL program in 2013. This program consisted of a workbook created by a member of the ELC research team and was focused on the 6 principles of self-regulated learning. While this method seemed to work for a certain extent, many issues became obvious over time, leading to a need for change. Of the issues realized in the paper-based method was that the workbook required instructors to give up a significant amount of classroom time to teach what was in the workbook. In addition, there was no effective means for the center or university to monitor completion by students or teachers. In fact, it turned out that many teachers were choosing not to cover the material at all. Finally, the workbook was only designed for those learners with a high to intermediate level of competency in English, leaving other learners out. Following an understanding of the problem statement and a needs assessment by the administrators, the following design implications had to be made. The first was that the program needed to move to an online format, allowing learners to complete it in their own time. Second, the content needed to be put into 4 courses, allowing for 4 different levels of proficiency from the students. This would also allow them to create 1 course at a time using the SAM model to continue to improve the design from course to course. And finally, the design team, while they would have a lead designer, would be composed of researchers, instructors, and administrators who would all work together to design and implement the new course. The design team conducted a constraints analysis to identify areas that would impact how their design process would flow. The first constraint they realized was motivation, not just for learners but instructors as well. They knew that in their design they must focus on fostering intrinsic motivation for the students. The university administration provided a constraint regarding the system they would use to implement the program. This required that the design team have a full understanding of how Canvas LMS operated in order to be successful. Finally, as the course would have no specific instructor, the course would have to be self-contained and not require any in-classroom interaction. It was also important to the design team that the course relied on sound, self-regulated learning pedagogy and instructional science. Motivation was the first element of the SRL pedagogy the team addressed. Not only were they focused on ensuring students were creating and working towards goals, they recognized that in order for students to remain engaged and motivated, the course would have to be interesting, relevant, and appealing to the learner. Next, using Andrade and Evans' 6 dimensions of self-regulated learning, the team was able to create 9 modules. Motive was covered in depth over 2 modules, and an introduction and conclusion module were added to the beginning and end. The design team was intentional in including the use of SMART goals in their course design. The purpose was to not only motivate but allow students and instructors to self-assess progress in the SRL course. Finally, they worked to ensure that the modules they were creating were level appropriate. On the screen, you can see the ropes model that was used to design each of the 9 modules. The ropes model, or review, overview, present, practice, perform, evaluate, and summarize, is a modification of the original ropes model, which only included one P, presentation. This model, however, gives much more enhancement to the learning experience and allows for more development in the students' minds of the concepts that they are trying to grasp. As a result of the design team's efforts, the 9 modules in the course were created and launched in 2016 to 144 students. You can see the titles of each module on the slide. The course was intended to be completed within 2 hours and to be completed within the first semester a student begins taking the ELC courses. Overall, the students who took, completed, and evaluated the course through a survey had an overall positive experience. As you can see, 57 students completed the survey using Likert scales and open responses. You can see some of the results on the screen. Overall, however, the students said that the course was positive, and they did provide constructive feedback, which I will cover later. Following the evaluations completed by both students and instructors, a few points of constructive criticism arose. The first was that students believed there was too much of a reliance and iteration on SMART goals. They believed that they learned that concept early on and did not need the repetition. They also believed that the course took too much time, even though it was only 2 hours. From the instructor's point of view, they believed that there was a lack of student accountability. While they were able to monitor the progress of students, there was nothing they could do to hold them accountable to completing the course in their own classes. And finally, many of the instructors believed that the 6 dimensions of self-regulated learning should have been prioritized, as they believed that not all of the dimensions deserved equal weight. In my analysis of the case, I found some things that went really well and some things that need improvement. Of those that went really well, I would say first of all is a great needs assessment by the administrators from the beginning, allowing the design team to make some important decisions. I also believe that the team-based design was very effective. I think the use of the ropes model was an excellent way to build a pattern for the learners to become used to and improve their learning experience. And I also believe the iterative approach will allow the program to continue to build courses that will improve upon the ones that they've already built. I do think there are some areas that need improvement, including not having enough student feedback at the beginning of the design process. As the key stakeholder in the learning, I think it would have been important to include them. I also believe that the administrators imposed a lot of limitations at the beginning that the design team had no control over. And I think in the future, the administrators need to allow the design team some more flexibility in some of those areas. And finally, the analysis and evaluation of the course at the end is absolutely needs to be more robust, including more surveys, more evaluations, and more in-depth analysis of the success or failure of the course. Thank you all for watching this presentation. References appear on the screen. If you have any questions, please never hesitate to reach out. Have a wonderful day.